Black people, we've got to fight. Jean Petro, you see us. Oguo, we've got to fight. Let's go fight. Oh, Black people, we've got to fight. Zumbi, you see us. Oh, whoa, we've got to fight. Let's go fight. Oh, Black people, we've got to fight. Yes, Sante, why you see us? Oh, whoa, we've got to fight. Let's go fight. Oh, Black people, we've got to fight. Bookman, you see us. Oh, whoa, we've got to fight. Let's go fight. Oh,
we have to have the courage to construct our own reality. And that's what Garvey was talking about. Because he said he looked around, he didn't see what he thought should be there, and so what did he do? He didn't get depressed about it. He didn't get defeated about it. He said, I'm gonna build the government that we need to have. Ooh, where do you get that kind of boldness from? So we gotta go all the way back to Garvey, who said he would come again. He said he would be here with us, no matter how long it took. And I'm telling you that the way he comes back is in our work. Not honoring him in words, pomp and all of that stuff, but honoring him through doing what he did. How many of us have the courage to do that? The man took on the world for us and in our name. And then we come to Sodai. And in this presentation of the paradigm, I'm going to make this like what it is we want to reach. So Sodai is translated clear word in Dogana language. And I use it to mean that here we gain understanding. This is sight with understanding. And it is seeing beyond what just we think we see with this physical thing. It's seeing beyond that. And so we gain vision, because that's what vision is. With vision, you've got to be able to use the imagination informed by the African spirit. And Brother Amos, who I work very closely with, was a good friend of mine. He taught me, and he would talk about imagination. Image a nation. Do you see? But that's got to be part of vision. To be a visionary, you got to see beyond this box here. You got to see beyond the ma'afa. You got to see what is it that our people rightfully should have, and that's what Garvey did. Garvey had a vision.
New era, new transition. Greetings, this is ShakaRa, and it's been an honor serving you as director of Got Kush TV. Over the past few years, we've brought you the pilot of the Black Root Economic Show, many seasons of Wordsmith, The Insight, and the ever popular Decipher. We have covered community events and even hosted a few of our own, including Blacktricity as a part of the official Ghana Beyond the Return roster. We also kept you company throughout lockdown with the Quarantine Convo. After a brief hiatus, we came back with our regular weekly interactive live show, Zivanai, keeping you up to date with current events around the black world, from UK to Senegal to Haiti and beyond. It is our aim to continue to develop as a premier black media institution, and for that reason, we have a special announcement. Introducing Kimbunga Media. Between the 10th of June and the 17th of Mosiah, August, we will be transitioning to a new name and institution, Kimbunga Media. In the beautiful Kiswahili language, Kimbunga means whirlwind.
Look for me in a whirlwind or a storm. Look for me all around you. For with God's grace, I shall come back with countless millions of black men and women who have died in America, those who have died in the West Indies, and those who have died in Africa, to aid you in the fight for liberty, freedom, and life.
Our name symbolizes our aim to take the media landscape by storm, developing high quality, impactful, geopolitical and cultural content aimed at empowering African people, bringing knowledge, information, inspiration and analysis from an unapologetically Pan-African, Universal Afrikan Nationalist and African-centered perspective. So, what can you expect? We are gradually developing a full spectrum of flagship shows and presenters, but in the immediate right here now, over the next couple of years, we have two major aims in bringing you our flagship shows. One, the return of Kush Communiversity, bringing you high-level scholarship in all areas of people activity, featuring luminaries from across the black world. And two, the production of the full first season of the new and improved Ujamaa Black Group Economic Show. While we encourage you to develop and support black businesses, this show aims to raise our awareness of the political economy of today's world and popularize new solution paradigms in political economy among African people. Alongside all this, we will continue to bring you Zivanai, Jaliba, the Afrocentric perspective, All Eyes on Africa, Ghana, Democracy Under Fire, the Revolutionary Minds team with that artistic, ancestral energy, and as things grow and develop, there'll be plenty more. We also have plans to host live events and film screenings, so stay tuned for more information on that. So what can you do? Continue to support us by watching, liking, sharing and commenting on our content. Be sure to follow us on all social media, and if you are so moved, join our Patreon community. We'll be sharing flagship shows exclusively with our Patreon community before general release and granting you discounts to events and future screenings. Right now, if you become a Patreon, you will have access to the pilot for the Black Group Economic Show and all installments of last year's Black History Month series, Sankofa, The Future of Black History. At some point, we'll be engaging in community crowdfunding towards the production of the new and improved Ujamaa Black Group Economic Show, complete with offerings and perks for those who choose to invest in us. Look out for the launch, and we thank you in advance for your support. Any questions, feel free to hit us up in the comment section and we'll be sure to address. We look forward to you joining us for this new phase of our development. Stay tuned as we bring you Kimbunga Media. New era, new transition. Tenai Mwadi, be thankful unto the Mother, Father, creative life force of the universe. Kudzai Mudzimu Mokuro. We give praises unto our great ancestors. Abibi Tumi, Abibi Fahodi, African power and African liberation for all African people. Greetings. Mosiah lives, brothers and sisters. Garvey lives. Yes, indeed. Greetings and welcome to this special edition of Zivanai Mekwitak. First in the month of Mosiah. Widaya. And I thought, it being the month of Mosiah, it would be appropriate, yeah, to open the month with another discussion around the concept of scientific Garveyism, brothers and sisters. And so that is what we are doing today. Yes, indeed. So feel free. The link is already in the chat, brothers and sisters. So feel free to come forward. The subject is scientific Garveyism, so you can feel free to ask or raise any points regarding the life and legacy of the most honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey and the UNIA ACL, brothers and sisters. It's all well and good. And we're inviting you to do that this evening. And so I'm going to begin and open up by, delving into some aspects of the presentation for those who have seen it that I may not have delved into when in the actual recording, yeah, but it's actually in the presentation itself in general. And one day we'll go through the whole thing, and there's even some writing to be done on the topic, brothers and sisters. But do stay tuned for that, yeah. Once brothers and sisters want to come true, we will share. Well, the link is already there, yeah, and so we'll bring you forward. When the time is correct. I will say also, brothers and sisters, I'm not gonna lie to Uno, yeah. I've got one eye on the track and field right here now, yeah. I'm not gonna lie to Uno because the women's 200-meter final is about to commence in about 25 minutes, Regina and Sister, yeah. So I'm not gonna lie to Uno. I'm probably gonna do a live reaction. Yeah, we're gonna pause, right? For taking the final there, and then we'll come back to the conversation. You don't know the thing already. You know what I'm saying? We're not begging no friend. Yeah, I want to see that final live. All right. So big up to all my St. Lucia massive in the building. You know what I'm saying? But our sister Julian Alfred is the new champion on the block as far as the athletics, yeah, the track is concerned, the 100 meters is concerned. And so, yeah, man, big up to Alma St. Lucia massive, including my own Empress, brothers and sisters. Yeah, plenty of celebration that I go on in a family house because of the fact that my Empress is St. Lucia, comes from St. Lucia and Dominica. You don't know. So yeah, so we're going to do some live and direct, you know what I mean? Reaction, yeah, to that particular event. All right, so do stay tuned for all of these things, brothers and sisters. I want to let you know about some events that is happening. We have the drums of Mosiah taking place on Saturday the 17th of Mosiah, August, which is the birthday of the most honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey. From 5 p.m. in Windrush Square, brothers and sisters. We're taking over Windrush Square for the day. We are taking over Windrush Square for, not the day, that's the evening, yeah? So bring your drum and come, yeah? We're going to be there from 5 p.m. till about 8 p.m. for a few hours, just, beating some drum and raising the vibration of ourselves and our ancestors, brothers and sisters. We also want to let you know about the fact that this coming near day, Thursday, we are going to be joined by Dr. Tyreen Wright. Yeah, in one of our Mosiah sessions, we're going to be joined by Dr. Tyreen Wright, who is the author of a book called Booker T. Washington, The Makings of a Pan-Africanist. And so we're going to be delving into the Pan-African legacy of Booker T. Washington, brothers and sisters, with Dr. Tyreen Wright. This coming Thursday, this coming near day, the 8th of Mosiah, August. And so we did have a session planned with Elder Cecil Gutsmore on that day also. But we have postponed that, brothers and sisters. Yeah, so we have postponed our session with Elder Cecil Gutsmore. And I'll give you information on that later on in the show. All right, so do stay tuned for that. We also, brothers and sisters, have another special release, inaugural release, brothers and sisters, coming to you on the same Nia day. Yeah, and well, I'm gonna bring up the information for you shortly. Just bear with me 1 second. But new show coming to Got Kush TV, brothers and sisters. New show coming to Got Kush TV, which is entitled and called Sankofa Speaks, hosted by the one and only Nahanda Sankofa. And this inaugural edition, this first edition, is going to feature one of the stalwart organizers of the Pan-African community in the UK, brothers and sisters, Queen Mother Nzinga Asata. And so we're encouraging you to join us on Nia Day, this coming Thursday, from the hour of 12 p.m. 12 p.m. UK time, during which the interview with Queen Mama Nzinga Asata will be aired, brothers and sisters. Yeah. And so Sankofa Speaks, new show coming to Kimbunga Media this coming Thursday, the 8th of Mosiah, from the hour of 12 p.m. Yes, indeed, brothers and sisters. And Sankofa Speaks is going to be having general conversation and interviews surrounding a personal development within the context of Pan-African movement, brothers and sisters. There will be a special emphasis on women and womanhood, but not exclusively on women and womanhood. Brothers issues will be delved into also, but it is important for us to center the Empress them, the Oman them, yeah. And so we give thanks for Sister Nahanda Sankofa, Sister Queen Mama Nzinga Asata, and the fact that this show is coming to Kimbunga Media, brothers and sisters, and will be coming to you on a bi-weekly basis. Yeah, so do stay tuned for the coming of that show this coming Nia Day, this coming Thursday, brothers and sisters. All right, we're there. And so during the month of Mosiah, brothers and sisters may have seen me sharing. We have what we call daily affirmations. Daily affirmations, and each day we consult our shrine or our altar, and we read the affirmation of the day and discuss its meaning and its relevance to us as African people. And we, in doing so, are going to turn to the Mosiah daily affirmations, and we're going to look at affirmation for the day 6, which is entitled The Black God. And so each day there's a word sound from the prophet himself, and the word sound from the prophet himself is accompanied by commentaries from the spiritual leader of the Alkebu-Lan Revivalist Movement, which is Brother Leader Mbandaka. And so we're going to go into that today, brothers and sisters, with the affirmation for day 6, the Black God. Papa Garvey says, if the white man has the ideal of a white God, let him worship his God as he desires. I can actually bring this up for you now, brothers and sisters. Let me do that right here now. Yeah, let me bring up the affirmation of the day for the item. All right, so you can follow the reading. Yeah. Hold on. We're nearly there. We're nearly there. It's the month for Mosiah, brothers and sisters, so we have to, observe all protocol. You know the thing go. All protocol observed. Yes, indeed. It's taking a while, brothers and sisters. So I apologize for the delays, but we'll get there. We'll get there. We'll get there. But as said, the link is in the chat. The link is in the chat. So you may already have your question or your comment with regards to the concept of scientific Garveyism. You can feel free to hit that right now, and come true. You can feel free to hit that right now and come true, brothers and sisters. There's no need to wait. This is the session, to come true with all inquiries, statements, challenges. We're welcoming challenges as well for all who dare bring them. All right. So Papa Garvey says, if the white man has an ideal of a white God, let him worship his God as he desires. If the yellow man's God is of his race, let him worship his God as he sees fit. The God of Isaac and the God of Jacob, let him exist for the race who believes in the God of Isaac and the God of Jacob. We believe in the God of Ethiopia, the black God, the everlasting God, the one God of all ages. That is the God in who we believe, and we shall worship God through the spectacles of Ethiopia. Such is the wisdom of the most eminent prophet and king, His Excellency Marcus Mosiah Garvey. We say hail to the power of the word. And so with that, I'm going to bring you the commentary, which is to complement the power of the word of the prophet, which is given to us by the spiritual leader of the Alkebu-Lan Revivalist Movement, Brother Leader Mbandaka. And he says, quote unquote, God, according to all religions, first dwelt in darkness and then created the universe out of that darkness, the blackness of time. God then created man and woman in God's own likeness. Africa is the womb of human creation, and the first people of the earth are its sun-kissed, ebony-hued sons and daughters, the chosen people, us. Thus, we confirm that the nature of Mwari is African, black. Therefore, worship Mwari, the creator, always and only in the nature of your Africanness, your own physical and cultural identity, your blackness, language, names, rituals, ceremonies, etc. Look upon your Africanness with reverence, for this is the nature and image of the divine one. Realize that you are chosen by Mwari and that you are black because you are chosen. Honor this and strive to live out its true meaning. Such is the wisdom of our spiritual leader, Brother Leader Mbandaka. We say hail to the power of the word. And yes, brothers and sisters, we are in the month of Mosiah, for those who are not aware, for those who are just joining us. 31 days of observance and celebration of the life and legacy of the most eminent prophet and king, His Excellency Marcus Mosiah Garvey, and the legacy of the UNIA ACL. And so for those who are not aware of the month of Mosiah, let me give you a reading on that as well, just so people can understand where this month comes from, brothers and sisters. Mosiah is a 31-day celebration and observance of the life and legacy of the most eminent prophet and king, His Excellency Marcus Mosiah Garvey, and the UNIA ACL. We celebrate the life and legacy of Marcus Mosiah Garvey because all proud and strong and ambitious people celebrate the great events and great people of their history. Marcus Garvey is by far the most outstanding and successful liberation leader of our people's history. He is the supreme prophet and liberator, sent by Mwari, the creator, to deliver us from bondage, ignorance, oppression, and genocide. We designate the month Mosiah because this is the month of the prophet's birth, as well as the UNIA ACL's annual international convention of the African people of the world. It is also the month of the commencement of the Haiti Revolution in 1791, the Nat Turner uprisings in 1831, the March on Washington in 1963, Emancipation Day celebrations in the Caribbean beginning in 1834, and many other vital historical events. We therefore regard this month to be a time of prophetic manifestations of our liberation, a time when we believe that there are favorable energies in the universe for us to tap into and channel our fight for liberation. Some may ask, but Marcus Mosiah Garvey was only one man. Why glorify one man? But Garvey is much more than one man. He worked day and night, 24/7 for the salvation and liberation of our people. He commanded a movement, the UNIA ACL, of 11 to 13 million members at its peak. It had over 1,000 branches in over 40 countries worldwide, with a possible following of over 100 million of the estimated 400 million African people of the world then. His organization, the UNIA, incorporated 2 shipping companies, a defense and security unit, manufacturing, wholesale and retail businesses, schools, newspapers, nursing agency, etc. All of these put to the service of the African people of the world. Never before or since have African people been so globally organized, united, productive. This fueled a perennial global consciousness which gave birth or momentum to such movements as the Harlem Renaissance, Rastafari, the Nation of Islam, anti-colonialism, Black Power, the Black Panther Party, economic self-reliance, Black business, Black studies, Black theology, Black arts, Afrocentricity, Black books revolution, etc. Papa Garvey is thus the embodiment of the aspirations, pride, vision, and determination of our people to be completely free and liberated. He is the personification of the character we must possess to make this a reality. Thus, we celebrate the life and legacy of Papa Garvey. Thus, when we celebrate the life and legacy of Papa Garvey, we evoke and absorb his indomitable spirit and legacy with the will to emulate his character and achievements. Hence, we say, Mosiah lives. And so that's the origin and meaning of the month of Mosiah, brothers and sisters. The day before yesterday, we were blessed to engage in the Mosiah Opening Ceremony. And so we are here today to delve deeper into the concept of scientific Garveyism. I need to pin the link to join the panel to the top of the chat. I need to do that right now, so I'm going to do that right here now. Then we'll go and hear out the people that will come join me, and we are going to get into our main topic for this evening. So the link is pinned to the top of the chat, brothers and sisters. The link is pinned to the top of the chat. And with that, you can click that link at any point and come live with ShakaRa, brothers and sisters. We are in the month of Mosiah. Oh, let me say a word on the affirmation. In fact, let me just do this quickly. So big up Lead Clinton. Big up Reparation Nation. Brother Kwame Abuaje is in the building. Melaman is in the building. And the enemy of progress, Rasta, also known by many other names, is in the building, bringing that Caucasian supremacy energy, because some of our people believe that they're Caucasian, brothers and sisters. All right. And so, the Black God. The word sounds of Papa Garvey for today's affirmation, brothers and sisters, begins by saying, if the white man has an ideal of a white God. In fact, this is actually in the scientific Garveyism presentation. So let me just bring that up. Let me just bring that up. Oh, looks like I took it. Oh, I replaced it with something else. Okay. No worries. We'll bring it up in another way. So Papa Garvey says, if the white man has an ideal of a white God, let him worship his God as he desires. If the yellow man's God is of his race, let him worship his God as he see fit. The God of Isaac and the God of Jacob, let him exist for the race who believes in the God of Isaac and the God of Jacob. Yeah. And so we see that in this statement, brothers and sisters, it appears to be the case that Papa Garvey is likening the God of the white man with the God of Isaac and the God of Jacob. Yeah, let them exist for the race who believes in the God of Isaac and the God of Jacob. We as African people, he says, believe in the God of Ethiopia. And for those who are not aware, in the in the early 1900s and throughout the 1800s, the term Ethiopia did not relate or refer to the country that we today call Ethiopia. The country that we today call Ethiopia was generally speaking referred to as Abyssinia. Yes, Abyssinia. And picked up the name Ethiopia at some point, and gradually it became popularly known as Ethiopia. But at the time, the term Ethiopia was used to refer to the entire African continent. As you will find in many documents, historical documents, when somebody refers to an Ethiopian, they are generally speaking referring to a black man or woman. Yeah, it didn't matter what part of the continent they came from. So there were many terms. Yeah, one might say Cushites. Yeah, one might say Moor, even. Yeah, and so there are terms that are generally used. Yeah, in certain periods of history and in historical writing to refer to black people from the continent of Africa, and Ethiopian was one of them. And so Papa Garvey is encouraging us to see the Creator through our own spectacles. He ends, that is the God. We believe in the everlasting God, the one God of all ages. That is the God in whom we believe, and we shall worship the Creator through the spectacles of Ethiopia. And the spectacles of Ethiopia are our own African vision, brothers and sisters, our own African conceptualizations. Yes, that is the way in which and the perspective from which we understand the creative life force. And so as we get deeper into that understanding, we refine our expressions in accordance with said understanding. And so that is my reflection on the affirmation of today, brothers and sisters. We affirm without fear or favor, without apology, the magnificence of the black God, the magnificence of the Creator as expressed in African culture, as expressed in African languages. My father once said, I worship no God that doesn't dance to the beat of the African drum. I worship no God that doesn't understand the African language. Yeah, and so we don't apologize to anybody as African people for the ways in which our African ancestors have developed spiritual systems based upon our indigenous understandings of the Creator. And for those who are not aware, brothers and sisters, that is a Garveyite principle. That is a Garveyite principle, because as Papa Garvey says in the affirmation for today, if the white man has the ideal of a white God, let him worship his God as he desires. If the yellow man's God is of his race, let him worship his God as he sees fit. The God of Isaac and the God of Jacob, let him exist for the race who believes in the God of Isaac and the God of Jacob. We believe in the God of Ethiopia, Africa, the black God, the everlasting God, the one God of all ages. That is the God in whom we believe, and we shall worship God through the spectacles of Ethiopia. And so we hope ones and ones have taken some wisdom and some insight from said words, brothers and sisters, said word sounds. For those who are just joining us, our discussion point today, the first session in the month of Mosiah, our first live session in the month of Mosiah, is scientific Garveyism. And we're going to get into what that is in a second. But as I said, Yeah, I got one eye on the women's 200-meter finals. Yeah, that's about to happen in about 5 minutes, and so we're gonna do a live reaction to that in a little piece. Before we do so, though, brother Kwame Abuaje has clicked the link, so I'm gonna bring him on. Greetings, brother Kwame.
Tell him, my brother ShakaRa, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
Not bad, my brother. I mean,
Good.
you're an inspiration, my brother. I tell you, I mean, Baba Marcus Garvey is one of the greatest Pan-African leaders in our history, and to honor him for 30 years myself, I mean, it's remarkable. Because
Thank you very much.
because I tell you what, my brother, Garvey did a lot. Baba Garvey did a lot for our African people. Not only he built a movement to bring Africans together, but get Africans to do for ourselves. I mean,
right.
I mean, I've got a book. I read about Baba Marcus Garvey, like I said, 30 years ago, and I didn't even there were things I didn't even know. This man, did so much for African people. He built the UNIA ACL, which had the Negro World restaurants,
Yes, sir.
Black Star Line, Black Cross Nurses, land program for Liberia. I'll tell you, brother ShakaRa, this man was just phenomenal. Baba Garvey was so phenomenal, and he inspired. I mean, Baba Kwame Nkrumah, Baba Malcolm X, Baba Baba John Henrik Clark. I mean, this was a great Pan-African leader and hero, and we must honor him, my brother. We must honor him. I've honored him now for 30 years. Every Mosiah.
Yes, sir.
He's a great man. He's a great man. Anyway, brother ShakaRa, I'll continue listening to the show. Take care of yourself as always.
Yes, my brother. Good. Thank you for joining me, brother. It's always good to see and hear your voice, brother Kwame Abuaje. So brothers and sisters, you can either click the link that's pinned to the top of the chat, or if you have an actual question, feel free to @GotKush TV, or in fact @Kimbunga Media, @Kimbunga Media. We're gonna transition to @Kimbunga Media, brothers and sisters. Yeah. As it stands, and we will read your comment out. Yeah, we will read your comment out. All right. And so, yeah, brothers and sisters. So for those who are not aware, some of you may not. By the way, give me a signal in the chat. Black Power Fist. Give me a Black Power Fist in the chat if you have watched the scientific Garveyism presentation that has been released on Kimbunga Media in the month of June. Let me know if you've watched the scientific Garveyism presentation, brothers and sisters. Yeah. Well, for those who have not seen it, basically, we delve deeper into the ideology and the ideological foundation of what is referred to as Garveyism, or what is more properly referred to as Afrikan Fundamentalism and or Universal Afrikan Nationalism. And beginning the process of refining and updating its principles and values and expressions, its codification, for it to be relevant in today's time. Yeah. And so that was the work that I was engaged in some time ago. And we are going to engage in a discussion, as we did when the presentation was released on the 10th. We engaged in a discussion on the 11th of June. And so we're going to engage in a discussion today, brothers and sisters, on the topic. Well, we're going to pause. Yeah, because I'm going to do a live reaction. All right, we're going to do a live reaction to the women's 200-meter finals. You know what I'm saying? We know, say, you know, enough things are going, yeah, in regards to that. You know what I'm saying? So I want to see that live, yeah. So we're going to get some live reaction right here now. And if you want to be part of the live reaction, you can feel free to click the link, yeah. Click the link and come and join me for the live reaction to the 200-meter finals. Yeah, there's nothing wrong. You know what I'm saying? We're just going to all up some traffic right here now, yeah, to engage with this event. And we're supporting Sister Julian Alfred from St. Lucia right here now. But we're supporting all the brothers and sisters who are involved, brothers and sisters. You know what I'm saying? Big up Dina Asher Smith as well, even though she's, running for the confounded United Kingdom of Great Britain. We love our same way. All right. And so let's see now the sisters, them, because it seems like there's only sisters in this race, there's only sisters in this race right now. Are approaching the starting blocks. We've just got what lane? I forgot what lane that was, but Gabriel Thomas has just come out. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, man. Julian Alfred in lane 8. Shadea. Julian Alfred there. You know what I mean? You get me? Julian Alfred is approaching the starting block right now. Yeah, shout out Elaine Thomas Thompson Hera from Jamaica, not running in this team. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to the sister of Philly of Nigeria. Big up the sisters, them running for the USA, even though Firebomb the USA. Big up the sisters, them running for the UK, United Kingdom of Great Britain, even though Firebomb the United Kingdom of Great Britain. We got a sister running for Cote d'Ivoire called Goodbye. And we're going to see what I'm going right here now. Oh, yeah, I mean, it's going down, brothers and sisters. Let's see who's going to do this. Pure melanin on the track right here now, you know. Lord of mercy. The sky fell yesterday, brothers and sisters. I was watching the 800-meter final, and a woman from the United Kingdom of Great Britain beat Ethiopia and Kenya. I couldn't believe it. So I can't believe it. The sky fell down. Pardon me. All right, brothers and sisters. We're taking a couple minutes out just to live react to this thing, yeah. Yeah? Everybody ready, set, no. No around for the thing. Okay, it's off. It's off. Asha Smith got a good start right there, you know. But Alfred's leading no, she's not leading no more. Thomas is in the lead. But yeah, but Alfred's picking up. Thomas is pulling away. Alfred's gonna come second. Asha Smith just got overtaken. I don't know who come third. But Thomas came first from the USA. Julian Alfred comes second. And anybody could have come third. I don't know if it was Nita, Asha Smith, or one of the other sisters from the USA, brothers and sisters. Me never see it. Thomas ran a good race though, because she came across the last 100 in the lead and held that lead. Yeah, and Alfred was chasing her down. So serious business that, you know what I'm saying? Serious thing that just got a while ago. I'm just waiting for the actual final result. Thomas Abal. So Asha Smith came fourth. Nita came fifth. All right. So respect Joe, Gabriel Thomas. When did Ophelia come? Me I wait upon the thing. Hurry up, man. Them long out the situation. Oh, yeah, mean. It's a good run, though. It's a good run. All right, kings and queens. I'm just waiting for the actual final tally to come up. They're taking long to put it up, though, man. I don't know. Mind you, the third place position was hard fought still. You know what I'm saying? So we're just, yeah, you know, trying to see what they go on. But yeah, brothers and sisters, that was a good one. You know, big up yourself to all the sisters them. And fire for all the people them around the world who are trying to generate diaspora wars, yeah, off of this Olympics. All right. You know what I'm saying? Lightning and earthquake for Uno. Yeah. There's many people, brothers and sisters, who are out here trying to cause division among Africans from the Caribbean and Africans from the United States of America in relation to these events. Yeah. And lightning for them people there. Fire burn. Yeah. It's possible to support whoever you're supporting, brothers and sisters, while celebrating all of the athletes and their achievements, brothers and sisters. All right. And so we just pause, yeah, to celebrate the sisters, them and their efforts on the track right here. You know, it was a beautiful run. And we give thanks, yeah, for the excellence of African women in this time. That third place position, though, was hard fought, man. But yeah, it looked like the sister Brown took the third place position. Yeah, definitely. All right, kings and queens. Of Philly Of Philly? Oh, that's tight. When did Philly come though? Boy, that's a tight one. Yeah, that is tight. All right. Anyway, back to regular schedule programming because it look like they might take long for bring up this thing, yeah. Yeah, look like they might take long for bring up this thing, yeah. If anybody, can confirm for me who come third in a second, I'll be grateful. All right. Okay. Yeah, you know what, Melanated? I have not seen any of the women's basketball. I've barely seen any of the men's. I've only seen the match between the game between South Sudan and USA. That's the only thing I've seen. Yeah. From the basketball. So yeah, Anyway, like I said, back to regular schedule program. But big up the Nigerian basketball team, women's basketball team still, you know what I'm saying? So there's a lot of sisters from Nigeria that are mashing up the WNBA right now as well. So like something there in the Niger water, you know what I mean? All right, brothers and sisters. Scientific Garveyism, that what they have to discuss. Yeah, that what they have to discuss. And so the link is in the chat. You can hit that link if you want to. Yeah. Come and ask me a question. Come and, highlight, respond to anything that I said. You can also raise a challenge, yeah, if you would like to do so. All right. And so we begin at the beginning. And in the actual scientific Garveyism presentation, I highlighted the actual main principles of African fundamentalism. Yeah. And so we delve into the primary principles, which are in fact sorry, brothers and sisters, I'm getting there. Yeah, race first, self-reliance, nationhood, and African spiritual cultural orthodoxy. All right. And so we delve into the concept of race first and the utterance of Papa Garvey. In a world of wars, one must go armed. One of the most powerful defensive weapons within the reach of African people is the practice of race first in all parts of the world. Yeah. And so we identify now some attributes of race first. Okay. And so it means when we identify race first, we are saying that African people are a biocultural entity. Yes, we are a biological and cultural entity. Okay. And being a biocultural entity makes us a geopolitical entity, which means that we share certain geographical and political considerations and interests. And so the job of the Garveyite is to identify the shared geopolitical interests of African people and prioritize that in terms of political organization. Yes, political economic organization. Okay. And then the final point is that we have a mass orientation. So that is there to emphasize the fact that the principle of race first doesn't mean, is not concerned necessarily with having black faces in high places. And once those black faces are in high places, they become representative of the forward development of the race as a whole. That the condition of the masses of the people is what we use as the barometer for defining the progress of the geopolitical entity known as African people, known as the race. And so I said in the presentation that this also means that our most primary and fundamental identity is African. And then there are variations in what it means to be African, but all of those variations seek to empower the overall umbrella African identity. Yeah. And so this is because we understand that there is diversity, quote unquote, among African people on the continent and in the diaspora. And that diversity is good and it's beautiful, yes? And we don't want to get rid of it. But what we are saying is that there is a certain level of critical mass and a certain level of basic interest that define us all as African people. Yes. And upon that basis, we organize towards our forward development, our ultimate nationhood as a people. But the principle, one of the things that I didn't say in the presentation, though, is that the principle of race first also encourages us, yes, to organize socially among African people. Yeah. That we seek social intercourse and, for want of a better terminology, integration among African people. It means that when we're looking wife and husband, we look among African people for the wife and the husband. It means when we're looking to start business, we look for African people to start businesses with, and we look to the best of our ability to serve the African community in the starting of said businesses. It means if we start charity, as much as possible, we are concerned with meeting the needs of African people first and foremost. Yeah, that is what the principle of race first means. And so all of our geopolitical organizing and unity is built upon the social relationships that we are consciously forming as a biocultural entity, that we are consciously developing an African culture that serves and forms as a foundation for our political development. So race first is at the same time historic and cultural as it is aspirational. That what it means to be African and the formation of an African identity is in production as much as it is in a historical foundation. That we are consciously developing the African identity and the African culture. That's what race first really means. Yeah, as we say in the Alkebu-Lan Revivalist Movement, race awareness and cultural emancipation first. That we must be aware of ourselves as a race of people and of the interests of ourselves as a race of people. And we go forward, yeah, with some of the examples going throughout the length and breadth of the UNIA ACL under the leadership of Papa Garvey to elucidate the principle. So that we're talking about here now the fact that we're not just talking about what's the word? You know, high place, black faces in high places and successful black people. We're talking about the masses of our people. Yeah. And then we delve into the fact that there are many who are trying to co-opt the African identity now and make it an identity of all humanity. Yes, because humanity began in Africa. Yes, and they use the fact that, you know, human evolution is centered on the African continent as a means to negate the African identity. The statement that all humanity begins, or humanity begins in Africa, is different from the statement all human beings are Africans, because African as an identity relates to specific groups of people who are indigenous and met out the greater part of their human evolution on the African continent. That is what we are referring to. Yes. And the issue with this statement is that, the African example is the only one that it can justify, well, not unjustifiably work for. But by that, what I mean is, if you said we are all Europeans, nobody would seem to say that, right? If we are all Asians, nobody would appear to say that. So because humanity began in Africa now, it allows them, using a scientific justification, to co-opt the African identity. And we are saying, as Universal African Nationalists, that the African identity is a sacred one, that you cannot co-opt using scientific justification. Identity is social, albeit derived often from natural phenomena, from natural biological development. Yeah. And so we assert, as Universal African Nationalists, the defense of the African identity. We deal with self-reliance, and we go deeper into this in the presentation itself. I'm not going to go into it now. If you want to delve deeper into this, you can watch the presentation as it exists on Kimbunga Media right now. Yeah, we get to nationhood, and this is important because many people attempt to negate and exorcise the principle of nationhood from Garveyism, and this is done in an attempt to reduce Garveyism, to reduce Garveyism to businesses, to developing a business here and a business there and circulating the black pound. And so we emphasize the principle of nationhood to the extent that we understand that the ultimate mission of the movement was, in fact, to develop nations, African nationhood, that is capable of catering for the needs of African people and protecting the needs of African people around the world. And so if we're not dealing with nationhood, we are not dealing with Garveyism. Garveyism is not about having a black president of the United States of America or a black prime minister of the United Kingdom of Great Britain. Garveyism is about developing African nations. Yes. And a unified political entity of African nationhood. Okay? That is what it is about. And a part of the problems that the movement was trying to solve during the time of Papa Garvey was the issue of colonialism. The fact that everywhere that a black majority existed, there was a colonial force deciding and defining the destiny of said people. And somebody in the audience is saying, well, ShakaRa, what about Ethiopia? And what about Liberia? And whilst we accept that these nations were able to maintain some semblance of independence during the colonial period, it is necessary to note that the political economy of both nations, was thoroughly impacted by the colonial process during that time of formal colonization up until the 1950s. The nation of Liberia, for example, remained a satellite of the United States of America for its entire existence. And Martin Delaney, a predecessor of Papa Garvey, speaks to that in the mid 1800s, in his writings about the fact that basically all of the decisions that were made by the Liberian government were run by the American government before they were implemented. And then Liberia in terms of trying to maintain even the modicum of independence that it had to contend with possible invasions from the French and the British, because the French and the British control all of the quote-unquote colonies surrounding Liberia. And so any level of too much radicalism that reared its head in Liberia could possibly incur an invasion from Britain or France or both. In the case of Ethiopia, necessary to know that the borders of Ethiopia, as they stood at the time and as they stand today, were also defined by colonial warfare. Yes, the borders of Ethiopia, as it stands at the moment, are the result of Europeans trying to invade African lands, trying to invade Ethiopia itself, being defeated at various points by our people in Ethiopia, but then having to negotiate borders with colonizers who were in fact dominating other parts of the continent. Okay, and so it would be true to say that the borders of Ethiopia were thoroughly defined, yes, by the colonial project. Yes, and not even Ethiopia was able to completely rid itself and ascend free of colonial intrigue, brothers and sisters. And that is to say nothing of the impact of the Italian invasion of the 1930s and the impact that had on Ethiopia. Yeah. And so the issue that our ancestors and elders, in some instances, were challenging at the time of Papa Garvey was in fact the issue of formal colonization, colonialism. And so the question then becomes, what is the issue now? Because there are no, colonies as they existed in, up until the 1950s today. Well, the issue today is neocolonialism, brothers and sisters. The domination of our nations through the economies of said nations. Yeah. And as you can see, Papa Garvey says that nationhood is the only means by which modern civilization can completely protect itself. Independence of nationality, independence of government is the means of protecting not only the individual, but the group. Nationhood is the highest ideal of all people. And it is the highest ideal of all people because it is in the context of nationhood that we are able to manifest ourselves holistically in all areas of people activity. And so we're dealing with, when I say all areas of people activity, let me just highlight what I mean by that. Yeah, which is, so we're talking about education, economics, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, war, and counter-war, and so on and so forth, brothers and sisters. Yeah. And so we're looking to develop institutions in all of these areas of people activity and holistically manifest a system, yes, a geopolitical economic system that allows us to be self-reliant in all of these areas. That is the point. Yeah, that is the point here. Okay, so anything short of this is not going to assist us in ultimately solving our problems. Yeah. This presupposes the idea that we have to be about the business of developing our own social order and our own economic order. The economic and social order of the world in which we live is built around the dictates of Western imperialism. Yeah, it's built around what is good for white people in Britain and America and France and etc., etc. And therefore, the economic system privileges them within what constitutes a viable economy, what constitutes viable economic success. But then, Papa Garvey teaches us to be self-reliant in all areas of people activity and from all other peoples. And so he says that we shouldn't believe that if the Japanese or the Chinese or the Indians, yes, gain control of the world, that our interest is necessarily going to be met through their takeover, that we have to have an independence. That means we must have power that is exclusively controlled by us. That's what that means. That whoever our enemies, friends, or allies are, all of the dynamics between all of those people, including our friends and our allies, must take place on the basis of exclusive power. That means we don't give up our exclusive power and surrender it to another people, even if those people are friendly towards us, even if those people are our allies in this or that area of people activity, or this or that area of campaign, or this or that area of shared interest. Yeah, so from a Garveyite perspective, independent African nationhood is a fundamental principle for solving our own problems. I hope that makes sense. And I want to delve into something that I wasn't able to get into in the presentation, but it is very important. Yeah, which is the fact that in the year 1924, the UNIA ACL, and this is important for us in terms of today. Yeah, so when we're looking at Garveyism, we're not just looking at a set of ideas on paper, we're deriving principles and values from how the UNIA operated and organized itself. For those who are just joining us, let me just re-announce that the lines are already open. So you can feel free to click the link, which is pinned to the top of the chat, brothers and sisters, which is pinned to the top of the chat. Or you can levy your questions, your inquiries, your challenges by typing in the chat and @ing Kimbunga Media, so that I can differentiate between inter-chat conversation and comments that brothers and sisters would like to be read out. Yeah, so we're @ing Kimbunga Media now, brothers and sisters. If you @GotKush TV, I'm still going to take your comment, but when you want to get you in the habit now of @ing Kimbunga Media, the transition is completing itself on the 17th of Mosiah. Shout out to my president, former President General of the UNIA ACL and current first Assistant President General of the UNIA ACL RC 2020, Babasengo Jawara Baye. Give thanks for joining us, Babasengo Baye. We always appreciate your presence among us, yeah? And so you can do that, brothers and sisters. I want to just highlight the fact that in the year 1924, the UNIA ACL sent a group of experts, yeah, to Liberia, a group of technological and agricultural and engineering experts to Liberia to begin a nation-building program in Liberia. You'll find this image in Philosophies and Opinions of Marcus Garvey, Volume 2. Yeah. And this particular delegation was sent in June of 1924 to start construction work in building concentration camps and laying out a township and surveying and laying out farms for what they refer to as colonists who were to have sailed from America aboard the SS General Goethals in October of 1924. In keeping with the agreement with the Liberian government, the Special Committee of Reception for the Colonists appointed by President King and the Liberian people. And so let me just highlight who these men were. And by the way, this is the second delegation that was sent in 1924. The first delegation that was sent in 1924 was led by Mama Henrietta Vinton Davis. Yeah. and also Baba Robert L. Poston. Baba Robert L. Poston unfortunately passed away on the return leg, of that journey. But this is what the man them were dealing with at this time, brothers and sisters. So in the top row, you have William Strange supervising and directing mining, and he's a civil engineer. All right, he's a civil engineer. James C. Roberts, who is an electrical engineer. James N. Walcott, who is a shipwright and builder. James O'Mealy, who was a commissioner, is one of the leaders of the political leaders of the delegation. Reginald Hurley, who is a carpenter and a builder. J. Nicholas, who is a mechanical engineer. And Rupert Christian, secretary and paymaster to the colony. Now, the point here is that the UNIA-ACL was employing the skills, of the African people of the world towards nation building. The program was designed to be an agricultural and industrial program. In other words, we're trying to develop agricultural systems that enable us to feed the masses of our people, and we are also trying to industrialize our nations as a people. Industrialization was the primary sign and symbol of national development during this era. What they call the Industrial Revolution in Britain and America was still relatively young. And Papa Garvey understood that a viable nation building effort on the part of African people that would enable us to protect ourselves from the colonial forces who were still warring in and over Africa, in and over majority African nations in the Caribbean and throughout South and Central America, was to form and develop a strong industrial foundation, to be concerned about energy sources and trade infrastructure, and so on and so forth. And so you see within the areas of expertise that the delegation was dealing with, what the program, it gives expression to the depth of what the program itself, this program itself was dealing with. It is often said that the UNIA-ACL bought land in Liberia. And we are dutifully informed by our brothers and sisters in Liberia and from Liberia that may only be true to a certain extent. That really what was done is that the UNIA-ACL delegations negotiated with the indigenous social order, the indigenous, not the national political order as far as the president is concerned, but the indigenous communities, and were granted land based upon developing relationship with the indigenous communities who were working the land, who knew the agricultural systems that would be most viable on the land. And so it was the job of the UNIA-ACL now to provide greater resources, and to invest in the scientific knowledge of the people on the ground in order to challenge the unscientific and colonial agricultural relationships that were developing and entrenched throughout the rest of the continent. What do I mean by that? We're talking about a situation in which the majority of not even African nations, those nations that were colonized by the European were cash crop economies, whereby agriculture became a means for developing commodities for Western corporations and Western governments, whereby the interest of Western corporations and Western governments took precedence over the interest of African nations and African communities and African people. And so the UNIA-ACL is challenging that reality now by developing and employing experts to meet the interests of African people. This is important because we're not just dealing with scientific Garveyism for the sake of being able to refine a history lesson on Papa Garvey and the UNIA-ACL. There is more and greater breadth of expertise among African people today. And so the question then becomes, how do we organize ourselves to do similar work today? And I've said it many times that I think at this stage of our organizational effort, one of the things that we can develop as the UNIA-ACL was developing at that time is agricultural cooperatives. Agricultural cooperatives. Yeah. That we invest in the agricultural expertise of our people throughout the African continent and throughout the Caribbean, and develop viable agricultural cooperatives that are able to scale up in terms of size and infrastructure. And there is some good work taking place in that regard. I've spoken before about the Black Star Action Network International, of which I am a member, and the Tools and Seeds program that has been launched in Sierra Leone. And I can tell you that there are plans, to extend that program in other areas of the African world, brothers and sisters. So we'll be bringing that to you as and where it is, ready to share publicly. But there is also the need for us to develop our cooperative models in every area of industry. Yeah, in every area of industry. And so I'm doing some work on that at the moment. And there are brothers and sisters and elders throughout the African world who are looking at cooperatives. And the importance of cooperatives is that they enable us to develop collective wealth. Remember that the principle of race first has a mass orientation. And so that we're looking to develop ourselves as a group of people. Yeah. And so based upon that principle and based upon where we are at and the fact that as a group of people, we have been dispossessed of land, dispossessed of wealth, dispossessed of economic viability, the way to solve that problem is to engage in economic models that allow us to include and engage our people as a group and as groups related to other groups within the group. And so we need to invest and study and develop cooperative models. Yeah. And I've learned about institutions in the global African community that are doing that work. Yeah. That are developing cooperative models in various different industries or developing models that allow us to convert existing institutions and businesses into cooperatives, and or allow existing institutions and businesses to contribute to cooperative infrastructure. So you may have a business, you're an entrepreneur, you're a solopreneur. It doesn't mean that so you can either make your business a cooperative, or you can become a part of a economic cooperative infrastructure that allows your business to cooperate to cooperative infrastructure in the community itself, if that makes sense. Yeah, there are various different levels upon which this can take place. And so as we evolve scientific Garveyism and its models, yes, that is the kind of research and development that we are engaged in, building upon the example of the UNIA-ACL. I'm highlighting this because this is an area of the work of the UNIA-ACL that many people are not aware of. The fact, and I should emphasize the fact that this delegation was sent with over $50,000 worth of agricultural and industrial equipment to begin this program. Yes, to begin this program. There are many lessons, many lessons in what I've just explained. All right, but this is Universal Afrikan Nationalism in practice. This is Afrikan Fundamentalism in practice. This is Garveyism in practice, brothers and sisters. All right. Let me go forward slightly just to explain. So somebody's asking me now, what happened, Brother ShakaRa? What happened to the delegation? Effectively, what took place, brothers and sisters, is that the delegation arrived, and because the president of Liberia at the time, President Charles King, was a proud, shuffling Uncle Tom, handkerchief head Negro who was allegiant to American empire, he sold out the program, brothers and sisters. It's necessary to note that he was under pressure from the United States of America. He was also under pressure from the neighboring colonizers of Britain and France, because Britain and France were always threatening to invade and take over Liberia, especially in response to any revolutionary activity that would seek to displace the American influence in that nation of Liberia. Yeah. And so the one second, brothers and sisters, let me just deal with something very quickly. Give me a second.
Why are we all of a sudden having crisis in identity? At the very moment, we also talked about what? Afrocentrism and African what? Centeredness. So right at this moment, when we are beginning to coalesce and to develop a concept of African identity and Afrocentrism, we are all now suddenly in a what? Identity crisis. Is the identity crisis really there, or is what going on an attempt to do what? Create an identity crisis? Because these people are well aware of what a full and wholesome identity will do to them, and they are aware that an African-centered identity represents the end of white power and of white oppression.
Excuse me, brothers and sisters, but we're back. Yeah. Word sounds of the great ancestor Baba Amos Wilson. And so what I was explaining, the fact that what happened is that the UNIA-ACL delegation, when it landed, was basically told that they couldn't disembark the ship that they arrived on. Yeah. And the equipment that they came with was confiscated. Yes. And eventually sold off. Yeah. And then what happened, brothers and sisters, is that, well, whilst all that the delegation was saying and all kinds of different negotiations were taking place, the Liberian government had been petitioned by the American government to grant a concession, give a favor to the Firestone Rubber Company. Yes. And the Firestone Rubber Company is an institution, an American corporation that basically was prospecting for mining rights. Yeah, the rights to the mining of rubber in Liberia. Yeah. And the American government sent Harvey Firestone to Liberia with American government officials, and a deal was negotiated. And the deal that was negotiated granted Firestone a 99-year lease on land in Liberia, some hundreds of acres of land in Liberia. I forget the number of hundreds of acres. But the land was given to Firestone and it was leased at something like 6 cents per acre. Yeah. They basically gave them the land for free. Yeah. Some of the land that Firestone was given was land that had been apportioned and agreed with the indigenous people groups on the ground to be granted to the UNIA ACO. Firestone was granted the land and proceeded to subject the people of Liberia in clearing whole forest to basically conditions of enslavement. Yeah, that's what took place. All right. And so in 1924, the UNIA ACL wrote a petition to the Liberian government trying to salvage the project. Yeah, trying to salvage the project. The Liberia nation building project. And that petition reads, "We also beg to draw to your attention of your honorable body the great danger that lurks in the future through the granting to the Firestone Rubber and Tire Company of certain concessions, which we do hope have not yet been ratified by you. Whilst it is not in our province," so you notice the diplomatic language, yeah? The UNIA ACL is in the process of being betrayed by the Liberian government in the interest of white power in the form of the American government and the Firestone Rubber and Tire Company. And so they're engaging in some significant levels of diplomacy. And so you know the diplomatic language. Whilst it is not in our province to interfere with your legislation, we beg to point out to you the motives generally underlying white capitalists when they seek entry into the countries of weaker peoples. It is our firm belief that the Firestone concessions in Liberia will lead them to ultimately seek the usurpation of the government, even as has been done with the Black Republic of Haiti after similar white companies entered there under the pretense of developing the country. And so the idea is that these white companies come and they tell us that we're going to help develop the country. Yes, and what actually happens is they begin to capture the state and ensure that the economy of the state and the economic policies of the state work in the interest of the company in question and the nation from which the company comes. What the UNIA, and this is a petition that was sent by the UNIA that was written at the convention in 1924, the UNIA ACL's convention in 1924. But when you look at what is being defined and described here, yes, we are talking about what would later be called neocolonialism. That the UNIA ACL in 1924 was already describing and identifying the next stage of the colonial project that wouldn't manifest itself completely and wouldn't be fully cemented until the 1960s and 70s. Brothers and sisters. Yeah. So when I say that one of the primary problems that the UNIA-ACL was trying to solve in the time of Papa Garvey was that of colonialism, and that today we're discussing neocolonialism and its evolution, such as globalization, we have evidence within the context of the UNIA-ACL under the leadership of Papa Garvey about the fact that they were already identifying the seeds of that problem at that time. The mission do and change. The mission do and change, brothers and sisters. For those who are just joining us, our conversation, because this is our first session in the month of Mosiah. This is our first session in the month of Mosiah. And so I decided to engage another scientific Garveyism conversation. And it's an opportunity to delve into some of the aspects of the presentation of the work that were not presented at the Mosiah Opening Ceremony of last year, and therefore do not feature in the presentation as released, as premiered on Kimbunga Media a couple months ago. And it's also an opportunity for brothers and sisters to come live with I. Click the link, come live with I, which is pinned to the top of the chat if you so wish, and engage in discussion, conversation, challenges. Yeah, we're welcoming challenges as well. Anybody who disagrees, with scientific Garveyism and Afrikan Fundamentalism and Universal Afrikan Nationalism, as has been expressed here, feel free to click the link and challenge the thing. Yeah, you can feel free to do so, brothers and sisters. It's up to Uno. You can also at Kimbunga Media if you would like your comment or question to be read in the chat. And I'm just going to check, because I've been neglecting the chat. I'm just going to check if there are any ats that I need to pay attention to. And it doesn't seem that that is the case. Yeah, it doesn't seem that that is the case. Okay. It doesn't seem that that is the case. No problem. Yeah, no problem. All right. So I've been highlighting now so we're under the subheading now of nationhood. Yeah. And we're looking at the problems that the UNIA-ACL under the leadership of Papa Garvey were trying to solve. You remember now, this is 100 years ago. This is literally 100 years ago. We're in a centennial moment. Yeah. We're in a centennial moment, brothers and sisters. But we're not engaging in woe is me, Lord of mercy, what I'm doing to Papa Garvey. The point is, what lessons can we learn from this? Yeah. And one of the primary lessons that we can learn from this is that whilst we are developing our grassroots institutions, ultimately, in order to establish nationhood, we have to negate, neutralize, and remove neocolonial governments. Yeah, neocolonial governments, brothers and sisters. That is an essential part of the process. That the neocolonial government, yes, was an issue that was just beginning to rear its head in the time of Papa Garvey. But it is a ubiquitous reality for I and I in this time. And so our analysis and our frameworks have to be developed, how we express them, our documentation of our ideology and our practice as organizers has to be developed in order to cater for that evolution in the geopolitical environment. To cater for the increase of Africans operating within not just the governments of majority black nations, but majority white nations. We have to cater for the Obama phenomena and possibly the Kamala Harris phenomena. We have to cater for the black MP in the Labour Party phenomena and the black MP in the Conservative Party phenomena. We have to cater for those dynamics. We have to cater for black heads of European or Western military formations such as the US Africa High Command. For example, we have to cater for those realities. That the neocolonial reality operates on various different levels. And just to emphasize the fact that what the UNIA-ACL, so the UNIA-ACL is identifying the fact that the Firestone Rubber Company would seek the usurpation of the government. The Firestone Rubber Company did in fact do that directly. They tried to appoint, soon after this, they tried to appoint a minister, one of its representatives in the Ministry of Finance, in Liberia. That didn't quite work. That specific strategy didn't quite work. But effectively, brothers and sisters, the Liberian nation became a cash crop economy serving the interests of Firestone in particular and Western capitalism in general. Yes. As an example of that, the Firestone Rubber Company had a very close relationship with the Ford Motor Company. And so Firestone rubber and tires were used on Ford's cars. And to this day, the Firestone family and the Ford family are very close to the point of marriage. Yes. The Firestone Ford family are an effective empire in white power today, brothers and sisters. So these are the challenges. So now when we see, for example, the major seaports in Ghana today, and in fact across West Africa, being owned by the same French billionaire. I forgot the French billionaire's name, you know. I'm gonna get to you in a second. Vincent Bolloré. Yeah, Vincent Bolloré. He owns the major seaport in Tema in Ghana, and he also owns 15 other major trading ports across the coastline of West Africa. That is neocolonialism, brothers and sisters. When our major seaports become the private property of Western neocolonial billionaires who serve the interest of white power. Message to my moderators, because I don't see retracted comments when I'm in the StreamYard, but I just checked the actual YouTube, and I'm seeing a number of retracted comments. Go easy on the retracted comments, yeah. Only if they're highly disrespecting the thing, you know. I tell somebody about them mumma. You know what I'm saying? Them kind of things there. I generally don't retract the comments. Even if they're chatting foolishness, yeah. You know, let the agents be agents and expose themselves. You know what I'm saying? As long as they're not trying to bring, you know, certain levels of disrepute to the thing. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Let them say what they want to say. All right, so that's just one example of the neocolonial reality of today. To say nothing of the issue of mining in Sierra Leone and Congo. To say nothing of the nations of the Caribbean who are basically now all satellites of America. For example, ExxonMobil and Chevron in Guyana. And the extent to which the Guyanese economy is now being reorganized based upon the interest of these oil companies in relation to oil that has been discovered, quote unquote, off of the coast of Guyana. To say nothing of bauxite in Jamaica and how that the expropriation of that bauxite has contributed significantly to American corporations in aluminium and steel and all of these things, brothers and sisters, to the detriment of the nation of Jamaica and the people of Jamaica. These are all realities that we have to factor in. Yes, and so the Garveyite message is that we need to take control of these resources and these industries in accordance with the interests of the masses of the people. This is why the cooperative model is important, because it engages people in groups. It engages the masses on various different levels. Yeah. So collective wealth is a principle within the Garveyite structure. All right, give thanks, Scattered Minds, for informing me of what's really going on here. Yeah, for informing me of really what's really going on. Okay, I give thanks. I thought the mods are being heavy-handed, but I get the message. All right. I highly doubt that, Tahaka, but we give thanks. All right, so just to highlight the point, it is generally known that certain members of the white race do not humor a government by darker people. This is now continuing the petition that the UNIA-ACL sent to Liberia in 1924. That certain members of the white race do not humor a government of darker peoples, of darker and weaker peoples. And it is our belief that as time goes on, the Firestone Rubber and Tire Company's interest will seek to further tighten its hold upon, the Republic, with the ultimate aim of superseding its government and placing it in the hands of the white race. We are asking you, therefore, if it is possible, not to ratify the concessions and to guard most jealously the freedom and integrity of your dear country. These are brothers and sisters now who are organizing on behalf of African people, who recognize that the agreement that they had made with this neocolonized government had been betrayed, but are still trying to plead with the government, beg you do, because they understand, even if the interest of the UNIA-ACL has been thwarted at that moment, they're trying to protect the interests of the masses of the people in Liberia, knowing what this company is going to do if it is granted access to the resources of Liberia and the people of Liberia. We have on this channel, brothers and sisters, Kimbunga Media, a session, looking at Liberia and what the Firestone Rubber Company did in Liberia. And I would encourage all of you to check it out. I'm just looking for it so I can bring it up and show you the thing. Yeah. Bear with me, brothers and sisters. Yeah, extremely, extremely important that we understand that the people in Liberia were subjected to conditions of enslavement. Yeah, and that 99-year lease would have been up last year, but a few years ago, Firestone agreed a next extension on the lease. Yeah, so hold on there. I'm just gonna bring up this show for you so you can view the thing. The show is called "What is Firestone's Legacy in Liberia?" and the show features our special guest, Sister Kao Fanbule, who details the thing in expert fashion, brothers and sisters. Yeah. And so, sorry, I'm just having a right. Let me show you the show so when you can see it and know where to find it and what it looks like. Yeah. So this is the show in question. This is our sister Kao Fanbule, and she breaks it down, brothers and sisters. Yeah. So if you want more detail in terms of what Firestone did in Liberia, you can check that out. All right, you can check that out. Okay. And so just to emphasize the point, as far as the fact that the neocolonialism, that what the UNIA-ACO was identifying is what was later referred to as neocolonialism. We have the definition of neocolonialism as provided by Osatefo Kwame Nkrumah. And he says that the essence of neocolonialism is that the state, which is subject to it, which is neocolonialism, is in theory independent or has all the outward trappings of international sovereignty. In reality, its economic system and thus its political policy is directed from outside. And so we're saying that the economic system of Liberia and thus the political policy of Liberia was being directed by the Firestone Rubber Company and the American government and related American corporations. It was being dictated to according to the interests of these Western imperialist institutions, of these institutions of white power. Yes? Necessary for us to know. And I won't necessarily go into this today because it's a whole next subject, but one of the most appreciated elements of the UNIA-ACL under the leadership of the most honorable Mosiah Garvey is the question of culture and spirituality. And it's a complex one because you have to understand the UNIA-ACL in the context of its time in terms of the influence of and the popularity of various different religions. First and foremost, among them being Christianity. Yeah. And so ones get very confused when people like myself come along from a heavily Garveyite perspective, but pushing African spirituality, or what we refer to more properly as Kimoyo, African spirituality. And we are able to demonstrate the fact that the UNIA-ACL was seeking actively and consciously to develop an African-centered spiritual focus. And it just so happens that we have the benefit of their work and the work of others in terms of being able to channel and refine what the African-centered spiritual focus looks like and how it should be expressed. And so we go all out. Yeah. Now there are others who remain within the Christian tradition or the Muslim tradition or whatever other tradition or the Hebrew tradition, because that was also a factor within the dynamics of the UNIA-ACL. But develop an African orientation within that tradition. Yeah. And that's all good. And there are many examples of that, yeah, within the context of the UNIA-ACL, yeah. And whilst all of those groups of people, even in the UNIA-ACL, under Papa Garvey, would debate and engage in our kind of, argument and all these things that happens, yeah. What they were all clear about was that our spirituality and our religion, so to speak, needs to cater to and be oriented around our interests as African people. That if our religion cannot speak to ourselves as Africans, then it is not sufficient. That is what they were clear about. Yeah. And so we delve into that in greater detail And I will read this because it relates to things beyond just religion. Yeah. And by the way, brothers and sisters, should nobody click the link, and should I have no questions in the chat in the next 10 minutes, I'm going to be wrapping up the show in the next 10 minutes. Yeah. So anybody who has a question or a comment, anybody who wishes to add to, or share a new insight on the subject of scientific Garveyism or whatever, feel free to do so. And anybody who has a challenge, anybody who feels capable, willing and able of challenging the information and the perspective that is being brought forward at this moment in time, you can feel free to click the link. The link is pinned to the top of the chat, brothers and sisters, but I'm going to share it one more time just for ease of access. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to be magnanimous, yeah, in my invitation. And you can also, if you want me to address a particular point, but you don't want to come live on the panel, feel free to @Kimbunga Media, yeah, @Kimbunga Media, and I will definitely address your comment or your question or your challenge before the show is out, yeah, before the show is out. All right, brothers and sisters. So let me get into this. It says, Papa Garvey says, it is necessary for the Negro to pay close attention to developing the appreciation for institutional life. And so when under the subheading of self-reliance, we speak about the fact that the program of the UNIA-ACL is about institution building, that we progress, we develop increased stages of progressive power acquisition through the institutions that we develop. So this is not about campaigning. Not to say that we can't engage in campaigning, but campaigning is a strategy within the context of institution building and cannot take the place of institution building. It is also, this is a controversial point, while we engage in fighting for the rights of African people wherever we are on the planet, and representing the issues of African people wherever we are on the planet, the principal aim is to develop independent nationhood, not principally to transform the governments of other nations that are not our own. It's another subject for another time. Yeah. But it's a point that's been made. So the point here is to develop independent institutions. And those institutions operate under a governmental structure geared towards nationhood, the ultimate development of nationhood. It is necessary for the Negro to pay close attention to developing the appreciation for institutional life. It's incumbent upon him that he also have and control his own institutions based upon his own culture and civilized idealisms. Yeah. So we see the emphasis on the cultural and the civilized idealisms of African people. That our institutions must be built upon our own cultural and civilized idealisms. As for instance, he may have his own church, but it is not necessary for him to adopt the peculiar articles of faith of the churches of alien races. He is not a Hebrew, therefore he would not adopt the Hebrew faith. He is not by origin a Roman Catholic nor an Anglican, because these faiths and religions were founded by white men with an idea of their own. These faiths and religions were founded by white men with an idea of their own. In his religious philosophy, the African, the Negro, you would say, may safely adopt articles of faith to link him to the Godhead of the Christian faith and practice such as his particular religion, and so likewise with all other institutions. Yeah. And so we assert the importance of institution building based upon our own culture and civilized idealisms. We'll go into the rest of this at another point, yeah, at another time. All right. We want to shout out the women leadership of the UNIA ACL. So we get into now the aspect of the thing which is about organization, and this is where I want to get. This is I think I said in the first discussion that it's the most underdeveloped aspect of this work on scientific Garveyism at this stage, because this could be a subject in and of itself. Yeah. So we're not gonna delve into it in its full comprehensivity necessarily, but we want to highlight the fact that to achieve all of these things requires organization. Papa Garvey and the United ACL emphasize the fact that the need for organization, and that disorganization was the greatest weapon used against the African. Yeah. And so we want to look at the methodology of organizations. We want to look at the constitution of the UNIA ACL, what it represented, what problems it was solving at the times that it was written and updated, and how we may need to amend it today, yes, to serve our needs today. Yeah. But the constitution is important because it gives detail of the structure of the organization. We want to look at the fundraising in the organization. We want to look at how the industries and the businesses were organized in the UNIA ACL, and how those business institutions factored into what was their place in the overall program of the UNIA ACL. Yes, what place did they serve in the structure of the UNIA ACL? We want to look at that. We want to look at the social institutions like the Black Cross Nurses and the Universal Motor Corps, and how they were organized. Yes, who was organizing them? Yeah, how they were organized. What purpose did the structure serve, and what problems did it solve? What problems did it not solve, and how can we build upon that now to solve some of those problems that it maybe didn't solve at that time? Yes, we want to look at that. We want to look at the relationship between the parent body, the social institution like the Black Cross Nurses and the Universal Motor Corps and the Universal African Legion, and the Negro Factories Corporation, the Black Star Line. What was the relationship between these institutions? Yeah. Yeah. We'll want to look at these things. So that's organization now. It's about structure. Yes. And one of the things that I do highlight though already is the factor of women leadership. Yeah. And the imperative of women leadership, that the UNIA ACL institutionalized women leadership from its inception. And this is before white women throughout the Western world had the right to vote. Yeah. This is before white women were playing significant roles in the governments of their various different nations and the major institutions of their various different nations. Yeah. And so the principle of woman leadership is a fundamental principle within the concept, within the organizational infrastructure of Universal Afrikan Nationalism or Afrikan Fundamentalism or Garveyism. Yeah. And we can justifiably say that the UNIA ACL may not have solved all of the problems relating to the gender dynamic and leadership under the leadership of Papa Garvey himself. But with the example that they laid down in terms of institutionalizing women leadership. And when I say they institutionalized women leadership, what I mean is that it was mandated via constitution that every branch must have a lady president. Yes, that the head of the Black Cross Nurses is a woman. In fact, the Black Cross Nurses is basically exclusively a woman auxiliary. Yes, that the men in the UNIA ACL who were militarily trained had a responsibility to militarily train the women of the UNIA ACL in the who were a part of the Universal Motor Corps, which was an exclusively militarily trained women's wing of the UNIA ACL, women's auxiliary of the UNIA ACL. Yeah. And so the principles that we derive from that should be self-explanatory in terms of the imperative of woman leadership in all areas of people activity. Yeah? All right. So when we get into organization, we discuss the imperative of woman leadership and how that was institutionalized in the UNIA-ACR. All right. Then we talk about education and science and the importance of science. And Papa Garvey, in the Philosophy and Opinions of Marcus Garvey, says the battles of the future, whether they be physical or mental, will be fought on scientific lines. So we deal with scientific Garveyism. Yeah. And the race that is able to produce the highest scientific development is the race that will ultimately rule. And so he also says that we must produce a race of scientists par excellence. For in religion and science lies our only hope to withstand the evils of modern materialism. And so from a Garveyite perspective, we must develop scientists and engineers as a part of our, as a key outcome of our educational processes. But Papa Garvey also says in the course on African philosophy, Message to the People, that unless that the race is not educated, unless it has a strong racial education, you can have all the skills in the world, all the degree, yes, and all the qualifications. If you are not sufficiently race oriented, then your skills mean very little, and you're not dealing with Garveyism, brothers and sisters. And you'll find that in the chapter, for those who have Message to the People, which contains the course of African philosophy, you'll find that in the chapter entitled Man, where he speaks about education and racial education, brothers and sisters. All right. I'm inclined to wrap it there. You know, there's more that we can go into, but as you can see, brothers and sisters, as I said before, this is a work in progress. Yeah, this is a work in progress. Yeah. And so as we go forward, we'll be developing it more. Yeah. But I hope ones and ones appreciate love and appreciate you know, the intentionality behind the works, yeah, scientific Garveyism. And I hope ones and ones have been able to gain something from. So I'll try to touch on areas today that I didn't delve into in the presentation as it was released a couple months ago. And so I hope ones and ones have got some greater insight. I'm just going to double check that there are no comments that I've added Kimbunga Media. Big up Melanated Goddess. Big up Ellery. Big up Scattered Minds. Big up Ray X. Yep. Balore. That's how you spell Balore. I don't think you pronounce it Balore. I don't know. You know, I mean, the French tongue. Big up Ali Jamal Kafu. So yeah, this is probably the first show that I've not received an at all. It's not a complaint, it's an observation. Yeah. So give thanks, brothers and sisters, for tuning in. I'll give it 1 or 2 more minutes before I close, just in case somebody wants to come live with me or send an at in a question or a comment that they want me to read out, and a point that they want me to address. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. You know. But yeah, it's a work continuing. I'm trying to do 2 major things at once, which is to refine and to develop the models, the Garveyite models for organizing and institution building based upon where we are at the moment. Yeah. And so we're contributing to initiatives like the Be Clean campaign that takes place periodically throughout the year, where we just go into community spaces and engage in some cleaning and some outreach in the community. And also the Tools and Seeds program, whereby we're able to support indigenous local agricultural programs throughout the African world. And so we, as I said, that is launched in Sierra Leone, but we want to extend that to other parts of the continent and other parts of the diaspora, so that we can have Tools and Seeds programs through which we can develop agricultural cooperatives throughout the Caribbean, throughout South and Central America. Yeah. And so there are opportunities where these things are concerned. You know what I'm saying? And there's also the development of educational institutions. And at some point soon, I'm going to be bringing forward Mansa Fode and President Kenya Mansare to speak about the development of the Mosiah Academy Leadership Institute, the Mosiah Academy Leadership Institute, yeah, which is an educational institution. Okay. And so we'll be able to not only develop practical institutions in agriculture, but also educational institutions in how we can make our agricultural application more scientific and how that can be channeled politically and economically. So the Mosiah Academy Leadership Institute is essentially really about education in political economy that guides the institution building efforts so that it serves our own interest. Yeah, serves our own interest. All right. So I'm going to assume that brothers and sisters are satisfied with what has been shared this evening. So big up all the brothers and sisters who have come through, you know what I'm saying, and shared and had vigorous conversation in the chat. I appreciate that also. Big up to those who have come to learn, those who have come to just listen and consider. And big up the agents, yeah. You know, we big up the agents, you know what I'm saying? As Malcolm X said, brothers and sisters, friends, and I see some enemies. Yeah, big up the enemies as well for contributing to the view count and the engagement, you know what I'm saying? Every little bit helps, brothers and sisters, every little bit helps, you know. So yeah, the anti-fan base who are obsessed with Kimbunga Media, and some of them are possibly obsessed with ShakaRa as an individual, but big up yourself, you know what I'm saying? Big up yourself, you know. We appreciate you also and what you contribute to making sure that we're even better represented on the algorithm, you know. We give thanks for that work that you're doing on behalf of MI5 and MI6 and the CIA and the FBI. Brothers and sisters, a reminder that this coming Near Day, we begin with the inaugural edition of Sankofa Speaks, hosted by my beautiful, wonderful, amazing Empress, Nahanda Sankofa. And she will be interviewing one of the stalwart Garveyite organizers of our Pan-African community in the UK and in Jamaica, Queen Mama Nzinga Asata, brothers and sisters. So do come through 12 p.m. On this coming Near Day Thursday for that. And then for that interview discussion. And then later in the day from 8 p.m., we are going to be hosting live Dr. Tyreen Wright, yeah, Dr. Tyreen Wright, who is the author of the book Booker T. Washington, The Making of a Pan-Africanist, yeah, and she will be expounding upon the Pan-African legacy of Booker T. Washington. I grew up hearing the Grandmaster teacher, Baba John Henrik Clark, saying that a reappraisal of Booker T. Washington is required, yeah, in terms of his standing in the history of African people. And so it so happened that our sister Tyreen Wright, who is a student of the Tuskegee institution, was granted access to Baba Booker T. Washington's private documents and collections and letters. And so that collection revealed much previously unknown information about his work. And so she published it in a book called Booker T. Washington and Africa, The Making of a Pan-Africanist. Yeah. And so that might sound weird to some of you who are familiar with the popular narrative on Booker T. Washington. That's not to say that he didn't have his shortcomings, but there is much more that we need to know about Booker T. Washington in order to properly contextualize his legacy. And so we're going to be doing that as a part of our Mosiah sessions, as hosted by the Alkebu-Lan Revivalist Movement this coming Thursday, near day, the 8th of Mosiah from 8 p.m. And then next week we have our session with Elder Cecil Gutsmore. Now you may, if you joined us for our last session with Elder Cecil Gutsmore, you may have heard a conversation where I was asking him about Walter Rodney's appraisal of Kwame Nkrumah and a critique of Kwame Nkrumah. And so he has since then listened to and read some of the things that I was referring to. And so he wants to bring an analysis of that within the context of a discourse of Pan-Africanists and who are engaging Marxist thought and practice. Yeah. And so we're going to be getting into that on the 15th. Yeah. On the 15th of Mosiah, brothers and sisters. So do stay tuned for our Elder Cecil on the 15th of Mosiah. That video is already up, so you can set your reminders from now, brothers and sisters. All right. So yeah, you know what I'm saying? One of the things that I find very funny, in fact, I'm gonna leave it alone. 10 down wide, brothers and sisters. 10 down wide. Be thankful unto the Mother, Father, creative life force of the universe. Kudzai Mudzimu Mukuru. We give praises unto our great ancestors. Abibi Tumi, Abibi Fahodie, African power and African liberation for all African people. Garvey lives. Mosiah lives. Ashe, Ashe, Ashe.
New era, new transition. Greetings, this is ShakaRa, and it's been an honor serving you as director of Gotkush TV. Over the past few years, we've brought you the pilot of the Black Root Economic Show, many seasons of Wordsmith, The Insight, and the ever-popular Decipher. We have covered community events and even hosted a few of our own, including Blacktricity, as a part of the official Ghana Beyond the Return roster. We also kept you company throughout lockdown with the Quarantine Convo. After a brief hiatus, we came back with our regular weekly interactive live show, Zivanai, keeping you up to date with current events around the Black world, from UK to Senegal to Haiti and beyond. It is our aim to continue to develop as a premier Black media institution, and for that reason, we have a special announcement. Introducing Kimbunga Media. Between the 10th of June and the 17th of Mosiah, August, we will be transitioning to a new name and institution, Kimbunga Media. In the beautiful Kiswahili language, Kimbunga means whirlwind.
Look for me in a world when a storm. Look for me all around you. For with God's grace, I shall come back with countless millions of black men and women who have died in America, those who have died in the West Indies, and those who have died in Africa, to aid you in the fight for liberty, freedom, and life.
Our name symbolizes our aim to take the media landscape by storm, developing high quality, impactful, geopolitical and cultural content aimed at empowering African people, bringing knowledge, information, inspiration and analysis from an unapologetically Pan-African, Universal Afrikan Nationalist and African-centered perspective. So, what can you expect? We are gradually developing a full spectrum of flagship shows and presenters. But in the immediate right here now, over the next couple of years, we have two major aims in bringing you our flagship shows. One, the return of Kush Communiversity, bringing you high-level scholarship in all areas of people activity, featuring luminaries from across the black world. And two, the production of the full first season of the new and improved Ujamaa Black Group Economic Show. While we encourage you to develop and support black businesses, this show aims to raise our awareness of the political economy of today's world and popularize new solution paradigms in political economy among African people. Alongside all this, we will continue to bring you Zivanai, Jaliba, the Afrocentric perspective, All Eyes on Africa, Ghana, Democracy Under Fire, the Revolutionary Minds team with that artistic, ancestral energy, and as things grow and develop, there'll be plenty more. We also have plans to host live events and film screenings, so stay tuned for more information on that. So what can you do? Continue to support us by watching, liking, sharing and commenting on our content. Be sure to follow us on all social media, and if you are so moved, join our Patreon community. We'll be sharing flagship shows exclusively with our Patreon community before general release and granting you discounts to events and future screenings. Right now, if you become a Patreon, you will have access to the pilot for the Black Group Economic Show and all installments of last year's Black History Month series, Sankofa, The Future of Black History. At some point, we'll be engaging in community crowdfunding towards the production of the new and improved Ujamaa Black Group Economic Show, complete with offerings and perks for those who choose to invest in us. Look out for the launch, and we thank you in advance for your support. Any questions, feel free to hit us up in the comment section and we'll be sure to address. We look forward to you joining us for this new phase of our development. Stay tuned as we bring you Kimbunga Media.
Black people, we've got to fight. Jean Petro, you see us. Oguo, we've got to fight. Let's go fight. Oh, black people, we've got to fight. Zumbi, you see us. Oh, we've got to fight. Let's go fight. Oh, black people, we've got to fight. Yes, Santewa, you see us. Oh, we've got to fight. Let's go fight. Oh, black people, we've got to fight. Bookman, you see us. Oh, we've got to fight. Let's go fight. Oh,
we have to have the courage to construct our own reality. And that's what Garvey was talking about. Because he said he looked around, he didn't see what he thought should be there, and so what did he do? He didn't get depressed about it. He didn't get defeated about it. He said, I'm going to build the government that we need to have. Ooh, where do you get that kind of boldness from? So we got to go all the way back to Garvey, who said he would come again. He said he would be here with us, no matter how long it took. And I'm telling you that the way he comes back is in our work. Not honoring him in words, pomp, and all of that stuff, but honoring him through doing what he did. How many of us had the courage to do that? The man took on the world for us and in our name. And then we come to Sodai. And in this presentation of the paradigm, I'm going to make this like what it is we want to reach. So Sodai is translated clear word in Dogana language. And I use it to mean that here we gain understanding. This is sight with understanding. And it is seeing beyond what just we think we see with this physical thing. It's seeing beyond that. And so we gain vision, because that's what vision is. With vision, you've got to be able to use the imagination informed by the African spirit. And Brother Amos, who I work very closely with, was a good friend of mine. He taught me, and he would talk about imagination. Image a nation. Do you see? But that's got to be part of vision. To be a visionary, you got to see beyond this box here. You got to see beyond the ma'afa. You got to see what is it that our people rightfully should have, and that's what Garvey did. Garvey had a vision.